Morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining our Signworld public webinar today. My name is Jeannie, and I am a member of the corporate team here, and I will be moderating our session. For those of you who may never have attended one of these in the past or watched a recorded session, I'll just quickly give you an overview of the format and what to expect during our time together today. First off, we're going to have each of our owners who are panelists on the call give you an introduction of themselves, a little bit about their background, where they're located, years in business, a little bit about their team, some of their customers, just so you can get an overview of who they are and their businesses and themselves. And then the fun starts. We'll turn the floor over to all of our participants who have joined the call and give each of you a unique opportunity to ask a question that you're interested in learning. And each of them will give an individual response. So you'll get multiple responses to each of those questions. I will call you out by name when it's your turn to ask a question. And we do ask you to keep it to a single question to start. If time permits, we'll go around for a second round of questions or more. But we do ask you to keep it to one question each time. So with that said, I always like to start with ladies first, but I will also say she's our newest owner that will be on our call as a panelist. So Jamie, go ahead and give us an introduction of yourself, please.
All right. Thank you so much for having me. Sheree was so kind to send me all the things I need to make sure I say. The name of our company is Saltwater Signworks. We are located in my hometown of Wilmington, North Carolina, so down on the coast. We have been in business for 21 whole months. We're still counting like toddlers, toddler talk. Our facility is about 4,600 square feet. We did not start in that size. We had a really challenging time looking for a location. And so we chose a 1,200 square foot location just to get open. It was awkwardly laid out. It was really challenging, and ultimately had an opportunity fall in our lap in June last year, and we jumped on it. And this space is more than what we need, but it gives us the opportunity to have space to grow. So we took that. Employees, we have, my husband and I both work full-time in the business, and we have 3 full-time employees. One is a project manager, kind of front of the house kind of person. Then we have a production manager, and then we have an amazing vinyl installer. 2024 sales projection, we are looking to do 1.1 million, hoping to double our sales from last year. So big, scary goal. My stomach flips over every time I say it. Biggest customer, biggest project. Right now we have 2 bigger items kind of in the works. One is iFly, which is an indoor skydiving facility. We are doing their exterior signage, and we're working on, they have like a large interior signage package as well. We already have their business. So that is a nice big chunk of change for us. And then we're working on a founders park in an area called Leland, which is in Brunswick County. It's one of the highest growing or fastest growing counties in the country, I believe. And then background career, my husband he's a mechanical engineer by degree, but nuclear by trade. So he was part of the Navy refueling nuclear submarines for about 5 years. And then we moved back here to Wilmington, where he worked with GE in nuclear manufacturing for about 15 years. And my background is all in HR training and development, corporate training, customer-facing roles, sales, building relationships, all those things. I think that's all.
You did great. She gave you all the, I think you just did it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So nice job. Very good. All right, let's go to our veteran owner that's on our call today, Mr. Jeff Miller.
Hi, everybody. As Jeannie mentioned, Jeff Miller. We're in from Schaumburg, Illinois, which is the northwest suburb of Chicago. Name of our company is Divine Signs and Graphics. We are in our 21st year on like 21 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we count in big people years now, but 21 years. And our facility is 9,000 square feet. This is our 3rd facility, and will probably be our final because it can take care of all of the different things we're doing. Our first facility was 1,200 square feet. Our second facility was 3,000 square feet. And now at 9,000 square feet, we actually do own the building as well. So it's been working out well for us. We have 16 people. And it's a mix of graphic designers, production people, sales and marketing folks, administration, and et cetera. And we're probably going to do a little bit under 4 million, maybe 3.8 million this year, which has been kind of a flat run rate for us since COVID. And we're hoping that soon we'll have a bit of a burst. But here in Illinois, and probably like a lot of you all are experiencing, people just aren't back to work yet. And a lot of the world of signs is in office buildings where people work. So if they're not there, you have to find other places. Speaking of that, one of our big customers has always been and still is Zurich Insurance, who also owns Farmers Insurance. We do 41 of their offices all across the United States. We do their interior signage for them and their branding, and they're always changing. So right now, post-COVID, they are taking 3 floors in New York City and turning it into 1 floor. And believe it or not, that's an opportunity for us, as well as updating and so forth. We also do work with 46 park districts in Illinois. So altogether, that segment adds up to several $100,000. And then we also work with the University of Illinois Hospital downtown, as well as a really, really big segment in high schools and colleges. I came out of the high tech world. I was a international sales person and flew all over the world. I was coming home from Singapore one day and I said, I just can't do this anymore. So I looked at different opportunities, and the Signworld thing, after doing a lot of due diligence and so forth, worked out to be the very best thing for myself. I have 4 adult kids. Each one of them has worked at the company one time or another. I have a couple of kids that just drive by, beep and wave, and pick up some money. Then another couple that have actually worked and do work at the company. So it's been a great part of our lives.
Well, we're very glad that 21 years ago you got tired of flying to Singapore. You've been one of our favorite owners ever since. So great to have you on the call today, Jeff. Thank you.
Thanks.
And I hear Amit is on, and he ran out of power, and I don't see him in front of his screen right now. So let's skip to Jack to give an overview about himself. He'll be a panelist today as well. Go ahead, Jack.
Hi, I'm Jack Werner. Just like Jeff, talking big numbers, I joined Signworld last century, 1995. I started in 1,200 square feet with 1 employee, end up 10 years later in 5,000 square feet, staff of 11, doing about 1.3 million in revenue. I then joined our founder and former president, Ken Kint, in kind of a partnership role at the corporate office to learn his end of the business, finished buying him out 10 years ago and became the president. And I've been in that role until March of this year, when Gene and Dan took over Signworld, and I now work for them. I now call them boss. My largest customer was a regional super franchisee for Subway with 200 locations. I did about $250,000 per year with that Subway. You would think once the Subway is open, they're done, but Subway's logo used to be yellow on brown, then yellow on black, then yellow on green, then they changed the font, they changed the outline. Subway changes every single sign in 45,000 locations every 4 years, both inside and out. So signs change more frequently than people realize. Prior to Signworld, I ran a wholesale food distribution company, so nothing to do with signs. Nobody joining Signworld had sign experience, or that's not the trait we're looking for.
Very good. Thank you, Jack. All right. Amit, are you here? I see you've been on and off. I know your power is going on and off in your operation. There you are.
Yeah.
Your phone now. All right.
Yeah, actually, yeah. So, when nothing else works, your phone works.
Hopefully.
So that, yeah, that's where I am. So I can actually participate as long as my battery lasts. But I am happy to introduce the company. I started with Signworld COVID hit, and I also made the smart decision of moving at the same time. So I retired from my Silicon Valley career and moved to North Carolina, where I started my career. So I wanted to go home. And so we started the business here in 2019. We are in the Raleigh-Durham, Chapel Hill Triangle area. Oh, the power is coming back. And the just looking at our business is about 1.2 million. This year we did about 1 million last year. We have a facility which is about 2,400, 2,500 square feet. It's a standard
Hey, Hamid, your audio is not coming through very good. Can you hear me okay?
20% of the facility is office space with carpets, and the rest is all essentially. So we have, climate control throughout the facility. Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. I think there's a little delay and you've been in and out on your audio. So can you hear us okay? I just want to make sure we don't get interrupted. Yeah.
Is that still bad?
It's better, but let's just try one more time. If it's
Can
not...
you start with somebody else and I'll try to figure out something else?
Actually, we did all the introductions. So let's just go ahead and start asking the panelists questions and hopefully you're...
Yeah, I can hear you, but if you can't hear me, there's no need for me to talk.
We can hear you. It's just a little interrupted.
Yeah.
So let's see if it stabilizes. All right, I'm gonna make an executive decision here and I'm gonna mute his line and see if we can get a connection here stable. See, this perfect example of what it's like to be a business owner, right? No matter what the interruption or disruption is, you got to keep on going. So, all right, well, let's go ahead and ask our panelists some questions and hopefully Hamid's connection will stabilize. So I'm gonna go in order of when I saw you join into the session today. So Thomai, I believe you're the first to join. If you can come off of mute, tell the group where you're located and go ahead with the question for the owners to answer.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Thomai. I'm located in Elmhurst, Illinois. My key question for you, for everyone, is who is your key contact for your major customers and major projects? Who's the decision maker? And how do you build that relationship to sell your services to those key decision makers?
That's a really good question. You know, I've been doing these webinars for almost 4 years. I don't think I've ever heard that question asked. So good one there today. Let's start with you first, Jeff. Who are your key contacts within your customers and how do you build your relationships with them?
So it really does matter. It really does depend on the account, but I'll tell you a couple of titles, if you will, that's consistent. So for what I would call the blue collar signs, parking signs, outdoor signs, etc., you always and there's a facilities person. So at a hospital, at a big corporate campus, there's always somebody who's in the facilities department, and they're usually most concerned about the external signs and the internal signs regarding compliance, right? Like fire escape signs and different signs like that. Then even on that same campus, there'll be a marketing person usually, and the larger companies that we all spoke of usually has somebody who manages the brand. And those people, although they may not be involved in the everyday decision, they dictate quite a bit where the sign business goes. So you have facility directors, then you also have people that are managing the brand or in the marketing department. Those would be the two key. And then you go on, like you could break it down further. Some companies have a transportation manager who only deal with the vehicle graphics. Because our business is so diverse, and I could do vehicle graphics with a large corporation. Jamie could be doing all their interior signs. Both of us would think that we have the sign business for that company. That's how sometimes it does work. But facilities and then property managers within the corporate, so the list goes on that way. But facilities and marketing or brand managers are two key contacts.
And what do you think are the key parts of having a relationship with them? What do you think makes them want to do business with you? If you had to, other than just being Jeff Miller, everybody wants to do business with you, but.
Yeah, so exactly. So one of the things that we do is we don't chase after projects that are like on drawings or being bid out and all that. We can win them if we want to, but we always, so if there's a general contractor who's looking for the cheapest signs, we tend not to hang around with that dude. But when we do find a GC that values value, not that because we're high price, but we're just not low price. So we go after the relationship, Jeannie. I tell our people we're in the relationship business. We just happen to make and deliver signs. And our model of business, which I learned through the Signworld family, would apply if we got into custom draperies or masonry. Make
Very
friends.
Good. Yeah, making friends everywhere. Love it. Thank you, Jeff. Jamie, how about you? Who would you say are the typical contact types, and how do you get established with them, and why do they work with you?
Well, I don't want to take time and say the same stuff that Jeff did, but the one thing I'll add also is the fleet manager. A lot of times, some bigger corporations will have a fleet manager, and then also like a branding manager or branding director when there's multiple locations, like Jack was saying about the Subway Corporation. We have yet to land a multi-city deal, or like being the point person, but that is definitely something on our list. Relationship building is my fave. I'm definitely all people person. I believe that sales has nothing to do with really selling of the job. It has to do with building the relationship with the people and just showing your care for them. I think a lot of people are used to being sold to, and we really try to take the approach of how can we help you? What can we do to support your business? Who do we know that we could connect you with to help your business succeed? And really looking at it more from a point of service. And what we can provide instead of like, what can we sell? And that's one of the things that we've been very successful with, is just our value proposition. Like Jeff, we're not the cheapest company. We definitely don't want to be the cheapest company. We also stay away from the people who are like, well, the other place offered it to me for $600. And we say, you know what? We're not going to be able to hit that number. So if that's really the main focus of what you need to do for this project, then I wish you much success, no harm, no foul. But our goal is to really be transparent in our communication. And while some might think it's cumbersome, we really try to just communicate, build that relationship with the customer, and add value where we can, and connecting them with partners that we've met. How do you find these people? Like I have learned just asking for the business is, one of the best ways to make sure you're connected to the right people. Hey, who's in charge of your fleet vehicles? Who does your facility signage? All of those types of things. Just putting yourself out there. And I have learned through different networking events that I've attended, where my people are. Like I want the business owners, I want the corporate credit card people who are not spending their own money. Thanks to Jack's tip when we first got started, he's like, you don't want people to spend their own money, you want people spending someone else's money. And for me, that has been like our local chamber of commerce and BNI, like networking events, things like that.
Wonderful, thank you. Amit, I think you're back on, and it looks like your connection is more stable. Can you come off mute? The question was asked of who are the typical contacts within your customers that you're talking to, and how do you build a relationship and nurture that over time?
Yeah, I think I kind of heard what Jeff and Jamie said, and I think I second those things, and we try to practice those principles, and it's not easy, especially when you're starting the business and you don't know anybody. And for me, I had left North Carolina for 30 years, moved to California, and then moving back. I think all those people that I knew were no longer in North Carolina anymore. So it was starting from scratch. So we had, like most sign companies, we used the internet and paid our dues to guard Google, and paid them every month so that we would get all those leads. And after and our goal is one day to turn the Google guard into a Google devil and never pay them again. And we can do that by actually creating what we measure every month. What is our repeat customers? Right? So today we are at 64%. We started at 0%, and in 5 years we have 64% of our revenue comes from repeat customers, and only 40% and I would celebrate the day I fire Google. When I get to 80% repeat customers, I'm stopping paying Google ads. So I think that's kind of the principle. The other thing that we have decided to do is we've started categorizing our customers into A, B, and C. And so, we actually differentiate how we deal with different customers in a different way. The customers who are looking for price, they're not even in the mix. They're customers D, and we call them dead customers. And the customer A is the customer that actually has more than 20 locations, right? Because if they have more than 20 locations, then our value model really does work, right? Because then we spoil them with so much love, they won't even go back to their wives. I'm taking lessons in comedy. So if something goes wrong in my sign business, I can at least do stand-up comedy.
You're on a roll today, so I think your future's bright, but we want to keep you with
Exactly.
Signworld forever.
I hope I don't have to do that, because I would like to do that as a hobby.
Absolutely. All right, very good. Thank you, Hamid. Jack, your thoughts?
I think it's been answered well. It's a lot of different people and a lot of companies. Some small business, it's the owner of the business. At the car dealer, it might be the new car manager, the used car manager, the facilities manager, the HR director. It depends on what the sign is for. There's a lot of different people. And like Jeff mentioned, you think you have a company, and yet you're only in one department. And there's many people that order signs. One of our owners has 4 divisions of Mercedes-Benz North America, who each found them independently on the website because they didn't go down the hallway and ask who else somebody was using.
And that owner didn't ask them, who else should I be talking to within your company that might need signage in other departments? I think it's kind of twofold. So yeah, very good. All right, let's go to another question. Meredith, if you can take yourself off of mute, tell the group where you're located and go ahead with the question.
Good afternoon, everybody. We are actually a 4-person family venture that we're starting out on. We're located just north of Orlando in Sanford. And my question is a little bit abstract, but I was talking to Jeannie actually earlier this morning, and I'm sure all of you probably looked at multiple options before deciding to move forward with Signworld in both the franchise and the licensing models. I'm curious actually about the startup training versus the ongoing support that Signworld provides versus what you may have seen offered by others in that franchise model space. So we talked about this morning, it was like, what's the catch with the no rules, no royalties, the low annual membership fee, how much support is really given when it comes to like the nitty gritty granular stuff of, putting together a marketing strategy or reconciling at the end of the month or that sort of thing.
Yeah, great question. Obviously, not knowing anything about the business, you got to learn about the sign industry, but never been a business owner. So there's a lot to learn. So what does Signworld really offer and compared to other alternatives that you looked at? So let's start with our newest owner again, Jamie. You just joined the program 21 months ago. I love that you're talking toddler years. What would you say the training has been like for you? Is there anything missing that you wish you would have had? And what's your thoughts on it?
Gosh, I was trying to write that down as she was speaking. So I hope I answer all of your stuff, Meredith. One of the things that I love, first of all, we were blown away by the not paying monthly royalties. So that really swayed us significantly to the Signworld opportunity. And then through doing our due diligence, much like what you're doing right now, we ultimately obviously decided to come on board. And I will say, my husband was more on board than I was in the very beginning, and Jack and Jeannie both know this. And I thought he was having some midlife crisis and all the things, and he was drinking the Kool-Aid, and I was like, oh my gosh. But then as I got more into it, I was like, okay, these people seem to be really legit. And we talked to a lot of owners one-off. I'll say that we have significant support from Signworld. There's more training than you could run yourself right out of business by just doing all of the training that is available on the Signworld Owners or website. The Owners Forum is invaluable in terms of the resources that are out there. The people always respond whenever we throw some random question out. You'll get 5 or 6 emails back with people saying, oh, I did this, or oh, I sourced this here, or this is who I use for this service, or hey, here's where I messed up on this kind of project, so don't do that. I can't really say enough about the support that we've gotten from all of the owners. I've never had someone turn me away when I call, and especially entering a new industry. I don't know anything about signs. My husband at least has that manufacturing background, so he knows materials and things like that. I just know people, and that's really all I care to know, to be quite honest with you. But the resources have been always there, always available, and very forthcoming. And I'll just speak to Jack in general. Once we got started, we had a giant hiccup. And I called Jeannie, and I think I called Dan. I think I called everybody. I called all the phone numbers that I had, left some hysterical message, and got every one of them called me back, and went to bat for us, and helped us figure out a path forward. And I was just blown away by that support, and I'll never forget that.
Very good. Thank you, Jamie. Amid, what's your, you looked at other options when you were considering Signworld training support within our system compared to a franchise. What's your thoughts about it?
Yeah, I think there should be a chemistry or a personality match between what you want to do with your time and your resources and your passion, and what some franchisor is offering. And I think one of the things that's unique about Signworld is that it attracts a lot of people who come out of corporate America. And really that reason is, in my opinion, it's quite simple, because people in corporate America have a lot to offer in services. They think they know what they're doing, and they have very, very strong ideas of how they will actually run a business. And so, it's sort of like people who actually, I'm one of those guys. When I buy a thing, it comes with a manual. I throw away the manual and I start using the thing, right? And that's the way Signworld is. Nobody told you. I think they give you a bunch of tools, but they don't give you a recipe, and you can make your own recipe. And that's what I like about Signworld. So you are your own chef. You decide. So there are people like Jeff Miller who does business one way and becomes $4 million business. And then there is, somebody else who runs the business in a very different way and is also equally successful. So there is really no one recipe of doing things. And so that actually, I think, was one of the biggest attractions for me, is that, why would I want to pay somebody to tell me what to do if I'm not going to listen to them? Right? And it's kind of stupid, I think. So that's kind of the other thing I would like to point out is, I'm just, this is just a coincidence that when I was looking at this business and I wrote a check to Jack, he gave me a few names of people to talk to. And one of the persons I talked to was Jeff Miller. Just to tell everybody, Jeff is a lot older than I am, right? So I called Jeff, and then guess what? When I was here for just 2 years or maybe 2 months, Jamie and her husband came and visited with me, and I told them all the lies about how great the business was. And then I got a commission check from Jeannie.
Oh, you did? Uh-oh, someone else getting my bank account and writing you commission checks, Amid?
He served us Kool-Aid.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, Jack. You don't have to put your head in it.
But that stand-up routine's coming together, Hamid.
I know.
I think I'm ready. I don't care about Signworld anymore. I think I got another career.
Little side hustle.
Very good. All right, Jeff Miller, training support is a lot different than it was when you joined 20 some years ago. But what would you say it was then? What does it look like now? And you've seen a lot evolve with Signworld, so I think you can kind of talk a little bit about the journey overall.
Yeah, first of all, and I really do mean this. I did not know where signs came from. I mean, all of you that are on this call know way more about signs than I did when I started the business. I mean, I had no idea. And then of course, as soon as I wrote the check, then I saw sign trucks everywhere. I remember when we started the business, my wife opened up the yellow pages because that was it, man. It was yellow pages back then. And she said, Jeff, there's 24 sign companies in Schaumburg. And, you know, and the blood was out of her face. But for me, opposites attract. I was like, well, that must mean there's a lot of sign business in Schaumburg, right? It's like pizza places. So one of the things that I could never would be able to wrap my head around, especially in the earliest years, is cutting a check to somebody that I barely see, i.e. a franchise fee, especially when you're struggling to get your feet underneath you. Now, the support we got, and I think when the Signworld team is looking for potential owners, there's probably people with checks throughout the years that you may not have accepted because you could tell right off the bat they would not be a good fit. This is an entrepreneurial type position. You have to be willing to go find and get and learn and grow and become. Some franchises allow you to just buy a job and they tell you what to do, when to wake up, when to go to bed. And if you follow their rules, you'll make money. This is not that. The support, though, is terrific. When I started, the internet really wasn't what it is now. It was just really a place where you parked a brochure online. But there were still phone calls and training. We had a 3-ring manual. I don't know if you guys do the binder still. Probably not, right? I still have it. The 3-ring binder on how to start up and so forth. And then I actually participated in the evolution of all the training, participating in mastermind groups and sales training. And then the other day I was online with one of our vendors who had a, whatever you call it, a webinar seminar where you just call in and this person talks about, they were talking about vinyls and so forth. So the support is, like Jamie said, it's more than you could take in, but everything you need is there. But nobody's going to come and force it down your throat. So if you don't like partake and participate and actively get involved, well, then of course to you it's not even there. So that's what I liked about it. I could not handle the rules part, not even a little bit.
Very good. Thank you, Jeff. Jack, your thoughts?
Before I give my thoughts, Sheree, if you got a couple of slideshows ready to start, these will go on in the background. There's no audio to them. The first one will show some of the facilities so you can see how they're all similar, but yet each different. The second one goes to what is a sign, not only what can be made with the original equipment, to then what can be outsourced, and as well as some things that you might even consider as a sign, showing you the breadth of what we do. The third slideshow goes to some of our wall of fame, showing you some of the bigger projects we've done. So Sheree, if you can go ahead and start those. You know, a couple of things with our training. One, we're constantly trying to add to it. We're constantly trying to update it. We're constantly trying to make it even more relevant because things change in the world. And when we brought Jeannie onto the team 3.5, 4 years ago, she's blown the training out of the water. We used to think we had good training, and she's really added so many elements to it. To Hamid's comment about giving you the templates, we really try and talk that just like a franchise is going to give you, it's a business in a box with assembly instructions. Ours has alternative assembly instructions so that you can customize it to you. And what's different about our training is that we're here to MC and coordinate it. But we realize, just like any franchise, it's a plastic world being in the big office. So we let the senior owners in our system, the experts that are really successful at it, lead a lot of the training so that it's a pure network of training rather than a plastic world of training. We believe it's a lot more effective than what you're going to find in most franchises.
Very good. Thank you, Jack. All right, let's go to our next guest for a question. If I can ask Matt, if you, actually, I don't know if Matt's audio is on. Let me just make sure. I think you are now, Matt. If you can unmute yourself, tell the group where you're located and go ahead with the question.
Hey guys, thanks for inviting me on this. I'm Matt Hadnaghi. I'm out of Denver, Colorado. I'm interested in what this has to offer, as I'm hearing a lot of good things about it. My question is around the sales, like quoting. How's the quoting done? Is it based on, I'm guessing, like a time and a formula of the different capabilities? And then when you're starting out, are you offering like a lower markup, and then as you get more established and building that relationship with your customers, are you marking up more because your quality's getting better, your procedures are getting better, stuff like that? Or kind of how does that look like with quoting and percentage of business that you're trying to make from your customers?
Very good, thank you. Amit, let's start with you. What would you say is the way you started pricing and creating your quotes and margins that you're charging for?
Yeah, so I'm sure it is different for different people, but in my situation, since I was actually quite a novice at physical things, I came from the software industry, where margin is always 100%, and I don't think that formula would work here. So one of the things I did was I depended on my group of mastermind people who were 2 or 3 years ahead of me, and I took advice from them. I actually used their pricing sheet and entered that into my Corebridge account, and I used those numbers to get started in terms of that. And then I think pricing is kind of an art form. There's obviously a lot of science in it, but there's also an art. And I usually look at one principle is if I'm adding more value to a customer, then I should make more money. And when I say make more money, I mean I should make more profit, because I'm helping that person more than I'm not helping the other person that way. And with that principle in mind, we always try to create situations with customers where we are doing installation, we're doing delivery, we are actually doing project management. And as we start taking on more and more of their actions that we do on a project, we add more and more margin on that. But it also behooves us to figure out how to do the cost side. Right? And I'll be very honest with you, for the last 5 years, I've been very focused on the revenue side, because my logic is if you don't have a revenue, if you don't have a revenue, you don't have a cost problem, right? So first, let's create enough revenue so that we actually have a cost problem. And now we are starting to figure out how to make improvements in cost so that we can excite on margin. But at the moment, my principle is very simple: add more value to the customer and therefore make more money from the customer. If you cannot add more value, if you're just doing something for them and they're picking it up and you're delivering it, be conscious of that and don't make a lot of money off that. But the goal should be to do more things for the customer so they can completely dependent on you and they can't live without you. That's what I do with my wife, and that's the same thing I do with my customers.
Very good. I'm sure Gina would echo that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, she still thinks I need to work harder.
Very good. All right, Jamie, let's go to you. Pricing a project, what goes into it? How do you improve your margins over time? What's your thoughts on the pricing aspect?
Oh my gosh, Hamid, I just have to come and hang out with you again. I forgot how funny you are. Okay, so I'll just be very honest here. When we started our company, I wanted no part of anything that had to do with all of this stuff. So the estimates and the software and learning all the things. My goal was to be like business development, out landing jobs and all of that. So I'm a little behind the curve when it comes to executing a lot of things to speak in depth about this. I'll say that we have, and by we, I mean my husband, has created a lot of quick products in the Corebridge system that we've chosen to use. I know there's other systems out there. We use Corebridge. Those quick products are life-saving to somebody like me who may not understand and know exactly what materials, but I know what we use for this quick product and I know what it's called, so I can turn estimates out quickly. That is the name of the game in my experience, is like when those quotes come in, like emails come in, phone calls come in, you answer the phone, you answer the quote, you respond back as soon as possible. And oftentimes we found, like Jeff, 24 sign companies, we found that we're often the first ones to respond and we provide the best service when it comes to how can we help that customer. I know we also have done a lot of what Hamid says is where can we add value? We push the envelope. I forget what Jack called it in one of our trainings, but he was like, hey, you know, see if you can shove that up $5 or $10, or, you know, bump this up a little bit and just see what happens, kind of testing your market, like seeing where the breaking point is. So I like doing that. It feels like a little game to me sometimes. So it's probably sick, but anyway, I like doing that. We add project management fees. We certainly offer to connect people to outside service providers. We do not have a full-time electrician on staff because we're so young. We don't have, we don't have an, what is the electric? I'm forgetting it, but certified, UL certified. We outsource all of our electrical signs. So we do put project management fees on there. We also provide permit services, which a lot of the other sign companies around us choose not to do because it is a giant pain, but we put extra money in there to compensate for our time. We're helping people pursue variances when we go up against the city for code stuff. We're charging for that time as well. So I agree with Hamid completely on like the value that you add when it comes to the difference between you and another sign company. Everybody can make the same signs. You know, if you can't make it in-house, you can outsource it somewhere. The way that we care for you and your project is what sets us apart.
Very good. Thank you, Jamie. Jeff, your thoughts?
Yeah, and Matt, how you doing? Matt, maybe your question too was, how do you get started with pricing? Is that when you get into the Signworld family, you'll actually have a shop management software system. That shop management software will have, of course, manage your receivables and your projects and all that, but it also has a pricing engine in it. So you would be able to put in, and when you get the program, it has kind of like the median pricing, and then you'll adjust it up and down based on your market and so forth. So right off the bat, you'll have a database of all the typical signs and materials and so forth that you need to deliver signage. Of course, you'll get trained on how to put together a sign, if you will, but that initial pricing comes from there. Okay, I think maybe that was part of your question, and then after that, Matt, you will adjust it, and typically you'll adjust it up. I would not recommend, because you're new, apologetically go with low prices, right? Because the value of the sign is the value of the sign. The only thing that devalues the sign is poor customer service, right? So you deserve everything that there is in that sign pricing, and it's always difficult to go back and raise your prices. So start off with what the market will bear, and then just perform and add the value necessary. And then as Jamie mentioned as well, like we just got a job for 40 HDU, like those big giant sandblasted signs that are painted and all that go in front of subdivisions and so forth. And we do those signs in-house, but the job was so big, we just priced it like we normally would, added a little bit on top of that, and then found somebody else to make them for us, so that we wouldn't bring our shop down to our knees with a job that big. But we priced it in such a way that we made money on it, but now we don't have to touch it, and all that comes with experience with the pricing. And then right off the bat, when it comes to selling it, you'll work hard just to keep up with people asking you for pricing and projects. You won't be out on any doors, knocking and cold calling and all that kind of thing.
Very good. Thank you for those thoughts, Jeff. Jack, your thoughts?
To add to what Jeff was talking about in the beginning, we've got a webinar that we host twice a month, where we have a senior Signworld owner that will take a category of types of signs. One session he'll talk about corporate lobby signs, another one he'll talk about vehicle wraps, another one he'll talk about post and panel signs, on and on and on. And just take that category of signs and talk about not only the science of pricing in that arena or that category, but the art of it, how to posture with the customer, how to work through. So lots of training, teach you how to do it. But in the end, you're in charge of what you charge for that project. And as you build your swagger, you'll charge more and more for the efforts you're putting into it for the customer.
Very good. Thank you. All right, let's go to our next participant. Tim, if you can take yourself off of mute, tell the group where you're located, and go ahead with a question for today.
Thank you, Jeannie. I'm Tim Kraft. I'm from suburb of St. Paul, Minnesota. My question probably is a little more aimed at Jeff. because I'm looking at possibly getting adult children involved in this with me. And so Jeff, anybody else who has input, certainly, I'm interested in what roles they play, and are they doing the same things they started with you, and how long have they been with you? What is their background? What kind of challenges has it been working with children in the business? What kind of pleasures have there been? Just in general, those types of questions around hiring or involving your kids.
Jeff, you're on mute.
Now I'm off mute. I have 4 kids, 39, 37, 35, and 33. I started the business obviously when the 39 or 38-year-old was about 17. So I had 17, 15, 13, and 11 when we started the sign business. So everybody that was a miller worked in the sign business. Things were a little bit less digital then, so there was a little bit more of a manual process for making signs with cutting vinyl and all that. So everybody from the 11-year-old up knew how to trim and cut and do all the things necessary to make signs. Now the 2 middle kids, they went off and they never really worked in the sign business other than the mandatory labor when they were in junior high and high school. Whereas my oldest son, when he graduated college, he worked somewhere for about a year and then joined the company. Now, one of the things, at least for in our family, that my youngest son was in the company as well for 10 years. My oldest son is still in the business. All of them, I wanted them to be up on the front end of the process, meaning working with customers, being able to quote and all that kind of thing. They already all knew how to make signs from their junior year, junior high and high school years, right? And college years in the summers. One of the things that's challenging is my oldest son always had, and still does, has a problem separating me from his father and his boss. And to be, that's not a joke. It does cause stress if you have 16 people and your oldest son, who maybe was in his 20s at the time, is rolling his eyes because as I'm telling the whole company something, he's like, "Oh, come on, Dad," right? So it was always that way. Whereas my youngest son was a college athlete, was used to being coached his whole life, and could completely separate me giving direction and coaching, if you will, and then say, "Hey, Dad, let's go to lunch," right? Whereas the oldest kid, firstborn, maybe not so much. So each kid is unique. Now, my oldest son now, after doing all the different things he did on the front end, project management, business development, networking, marketing, and all that, he's actually in production right now. And I know in Jack's family, with his sons too, one is more business, one's more production. And JR, my oldest son, he's actually on the production side now because he said, "Dad, you walk into a room filled with people you don't know and you're like excited." He said, "I look for a corner," right? And he then, when he was doing that when he was younger, he did it, but it wasn't his genius, right? So now he's where he's at. And my youngest son was a marketing, customer service, and he did that for 10 years with us. And he actually went on now, and he's actually a senior pastor at the church that we all grew up in. So that's pretty cool too. So that's what happens when you work at Divine Signs, you become a pastor. But anyway, and then the kids in the middle, like I said, they drive by, honk and wave. So,
That's
but the
awesome.
challenge is not trying to fit each kid into the next owner, because my oldest son, he doesn't want to own the business, but is very invested in it with his life and his emotions, but knows that he's not the guy that runs the business. Whereas the younger kid, when he was here, he dreamed of himself taking over someday.
Very good. Jamie, you got some teenage boys. Are they helping you in your business? Do you see that in the future? What would be your answer to Tim on, including children in the business with you?
Well, our boys are significantly younger, so they're 17. So our oldest is 17 and he'll be a senior this year. Our youngest is 14. And I was laughing listening to Jeff. We have the same issue. Our firstborn has a very hard time with Ben giving direction or, telling him how to do something. As a side note, he apparently is a genius and knows all things about anything. So I'll give him y'all his number in case you have questions about life in general, and he can help you. But so that is a challenge for us. They're both very good with their hands. They're very methodical thinkers. So they get that from their dad. And so they have learned how to make signs. They've learned how to wrap vehicles. The oldest one, we have sent him out on some installs like on his own. So the younger one, now he's very interested in cash flow. He hears us talking about the business operations, and it's kind of interesting. I mean, he's 14, so who knows? But as of this point, he's very interested in doing commercial real estate so he can buy a building that we can rent from him for our space. So that's really all we've got in terms of the kids working in the business.
Hey, lots of unique ways to do it, that's for sure. Hamid, what would you say to that question?
Well, actually, my experience is obviously very different. I started this business after I retired from Silicon Valley. So my kids were already out of college, and one is a doctor in Virginia, and the other one is a biomedical engineer. And I would be very disappointed if they want to come back into the sign business.
Wait a minute, what are you trying to say there, Hamid?
Well, I'm actually working with my employees. So my plan is to turn over the ownership of my business to my employees when I retire. That's kind of my, big plan, and that's what I'm trying to work towards. So that, yeah. So so I have a feeling that we could actually, do this well, so that I could retire. They could pay me rent on my business. I have already bought land. We're building a building, and so that's where we are kind of trying to diversify. We know the sign business is the best business in the world, but Warren Buffett told me even real estate is pretty good.
Very good, awesome. Jack, your thoughts?
We've got lots of owners that have their kids in the business. Some started with the kids, but many have brought them in later. We're actually even starting some mastermind groups for second generation individuals. I had 2 trainees in training this month that were sons of owners of the business. One from Atlanta, actually both from Atlanta. One a 2-year-old operation, one a 14-year-old operation. So that's always included. If kids want to join the business in the future, they can go through all the training that you went through and have all the benefits of it. So we talk about exit strategy planning from day one, and one of those is to pass it off to the kids. A lot of different roles they can have. They can be in the marketing side of it. They can be in the sales side of it. They can be in the production side of it. A lot of different roles that you can have.
Very good, thank you, Jack. All right, let's go right.
You're probably going to run a little bit over the top there. I have to hard stop it right at the top of the hour, so I'm going to drop off.
All right, good to know. We have 2 more questions, or 2 more participants here. San, let's go with you. If you can take yourself off mute, go ahead with the question.
Hi, everyone. It's San. I'm in Northern California, which is, I kind of giggled because that's where Hamid fled from, the Bay Area, and that's where I'm at. That's probably where I'll look to open a business. Want to thank you all for your time. I know it's valuable. My question, I'm a previous or current, I guess, marketing professional. So of course, my question has to do with marketing. When you first started, or even as your business evolved, what were the 1 or 2 big impact things you believe were most impactful in getting your name out there? Because this is different as a licensed business versus a franchise. That brand name isn't out there. So you had to drive your own business, which is exciting but daunting, even for a marketer. So what were some of the things, or 1 or 2 critical things you think were most valuable and impactful for you?
Okay, so first year in your business, creating your brand identity, what are the 2 things that were most impactful that you can do? Let's start with you, Jeff. You're a little different today because we do have the internet today, but what would you say to a new owner is the most impactful things they can do in the first year?
Yeah, and I don't know, Gene, when it's all said and done, when you put Yellow Pages equal web SEO and SEM, my investment in Yellow Pages was $2,500 a month, and that's about my investment now in SEO. But to answer the question directly, San, I would say, first of all, the sign business is a very high activity business, high activity level, meaning that you get involved in it. I mean, there's a lot of strategy and all that, but If you sit and do a lot of strategic work, you're going to get run over by poverty. Okay. So the answer, number one, is you have to be out there, and it's a high activity business, meaning that you're involved locally in your community with the chamber, with professional networking groups. Everybody you know now knows what you do. You know, like any business that you would get into, but signs are very identifiable, you know, versus some other businesses. If you sold like replacement parts for Da Vinci robots, it's kind of a narrow niche, right? Whereas signage, people are compelled by it. So it's high activity, getting as many customers as you can, meeting as many people as you can, and following up with, you know, with as many people as you can. All of your neighbors, your friends, and your relatives all know people who buy signage every day, and somehow you have to try to figure out who those people are without being that relative that's trying to figure that out, right? And then the other thing is to you know, be connected to other businesses in your area that could complement what you do, whether they be general contractors, architects, painters, and the list goes on.
Very good. Thank you, Jeff. I mean, what would you say are the two pivotal things to do in your first year?
Yeah, I think it's that was one of the kind of the big mistakes I made. I think I had I had vanity on my side before, because I thought since I came from Silicon Valley, I knew the internet, and because I knew the internet, I knew how everything worked, and therefore I was not going to pay anybody to help me, but I was going to help myself and get my SEO and everything done, and I'll get it done by poor Nigerian kids out of Nigeria, and let them write, and all that stupid things I tried for first 3 months, and it was useless. So don't do that. What I would suggest is find a good go-to-market strategy with a good company that can actually understand the sign business niche. Everybody will tell you they understand it, but you know, you have to do your work and find out who are the good ones who have actually done it, because you want to learn from people who've already made those mistakes so that they don't make mistakes from your fees, and negotiate a good deal so that you're looking for leads, not for clicks. Clicks don't matter, leads matter. So that's how you negotiate and you get that thing going, so you at least have 80 to 100 leads a month when you are fully done. And if I had done that right, I would have saved 1 year in my sign up. And I did that, but I did it about 6 months later after losing a lot of time and money. And the second thing I would say is, you know, networking is a good idea if you are, you know, if you're in the Bay Area and you already have a lot of contacts in the Bay Area. That's a very good way to leverage it. But that was not my option. So I ended up converting my customers that were one-time customers into repeat customers. And so I actually, from the day one, I would look at a customer and says, all right, will he buy a new sign within the next 2 months or 3 months? If that was the case, I would just go after them and spoil them rotten, right? And that's what, for me, was the important thing to do to ramp up. And I think that's, but if you know people and you are from the Bay Area, I think you can actually use networking, but I did not. Thank you.
Very good. How about you, Jamie? You're the newest owner in the business. What do you think was key to getting your brand established in the first year?
So first of all, we were advised to start our website before we were ready, before we found a location. It took us 7 months to find a location. So we were terrified to turn that website on, but the advice that was given to us was like, just do it. You need to go do that. So you probably know that being in marketing. But the thing for me is get that website up. And then we really focused on Google reviews, asking for people to take the time to do those reviews so it would help with our organic presence. And then closing the loop with our marketing team as far as providing feedback on the leads that we had. So like we could get, 30, 40 leads, but if they're not qualified leads for the things that we do, or we're like, God, we don't want 17 banners, like we're looking for a different, route as far as a higher ticket item, that's really made a difference in our campaign. And then I would say the other one is networking. I mean, I have no shame. I will ask anyone for the business. I'll tell anybody what we do. We told our entire network, and some of that came from just sheer terror, to be quite honest with you. We left corporate, you know, a nice cushy corporate job. We have 2 children still at home. I'd love to stay in our house and feed them and all the things. So a lot of that hustle was just from freaking out. But I love networking. I'm a firm believer in B&I is one of my favorites just because it's seat specific. So there's no other sign company in there, but there are people who are great partners for you. Like I think Jeff mentioned earlier, like there's commercial real estate agents, there's commercial insurance folks, there are commercial lenders, people that are always talking to business owners. And then I also believe in cold calls. Not that it's the bread and butter of our business, but I read the business journal. And when the business journal has articles about new businesses coming, I look them up and I find them on Instagram and I send them a message. And we have, you know, just from 2 cold calls, we have about $40,000 in business. And one of them led us to be the sign provider for a kind of upscale retail place that has 10 retail spaces in it. And those signs, because of the kind of signs that they have to be, they're about $12,000 to $15,000 a piece. So you just never know where asking for the business will get you. So I'm a firm believer in that.
Very good. Thank you, Jamie. All right, really quick question to our owners. Give me a thumbs up. Can you stand for 5 more minutes for one more question? We got one more participant that hasn't had to ask. Yep, you're good. All right, awesome. Taylor, can you come off mute and go ahead, tell the group where you're located and go ahead with a question for them.
Hey there, I'm Taylor Martinez. I'm located in South Texas, in kind of a rural area in between the Houston, Austin, San Antonio triangle. And the concern for me is location. So when y'all were introducing yourselves, I did look up your businesses, and y'all are all located on the outskirts of a major metropolitan area. For me, being in a rural area, I see my my downfall or being not having those big commercial accounts like Subway or iFly or Farmers Insurance. Like I have access to more mom and pop shops. So with your experience and the people that you've worked with or talked to franchises, other franchisors about, what is your recommendation for those people who don't have access to those larger companies, just from a location standpoint?
Yep. So definitely, you know, location does matter and proximity to, you know, businesses is important. So, you know, someone in a rural market, what would be your feedback on that? Jeff, I'll start with you. You have probably the,
Yeah,
you have the longest experience.
Yeah, Taylor, you know, Jeannie's in the Wisconsin area, but I go up to the Northwoods, you know, which is about 7 hours straight northern Wisconsin and the UP. So I go through a lot of rural area. Now it's not rural Texas, but it's similar, you know, and there's a sign company, you know, in every rural area. And I often think I really wish I was that guy versus this, meaning that I guarantee that where you're at, if you had a 9,000 square foot building, you wouldn't pay $48,000 in property taxes. It wouldn't take, if you went an hour driving, you would go 60 miles, not 6 miles, and the list goes on, right? So there's a lot of benefits. And yeah, you'll be dealing with smaller businesses, but there's always like gas stations and so forth. There's always a little larger town just near your town that there's some things going on in. So one of my advice would be right off the bat, if I was in a rural area, I would probably get a truck, because I think if you're the only person in town with a truck with a lift on it, that automatically puts you in play, and find somebody that would know how to work it, right? And that's usually not the number one advice that we give out to people when they start new, is to go buy a truck. But I think in a rural area, if you had that truck, that would open the door for all kinds of things for you. And you already sound like a really friendly person, Taylor. So I think you got it made. And then you could also be, you know, taking some other things associated with that, like promotional products, printing item, and you'll probably be a billionaire.
Wow. Those
Yeah.
are some pretty high standards you're setting
Yeah.
up there, Jeff. All right, very good. Amit, what would you say is your answer? I mean, obviously there's some rural parts to North Carolina that you're located in. What's your thoughts on that?
I think Taylor should definitely talk to someone who is a Signworld person in a rural area.
Mhm.
And I think that person can actually have a lot more credibility than I'll be very honest with you. I think one of the reasons why I have succeeded in this business is because I'm in Raleigh. Raleigh is one of the top 5 markets in the country in terms of new business growth. Austin, Texas, Nashville, Tennessee, Raleigh, North Carolina. I mean, these are the places where if you don't make money, you should check out yourself. You might not be that good.
All right, very good. All right, Jamie, let's finish with you. What would you say your thoughts? You live in a, beach town and the whole, east of you is all water. What would you say are the
Water.
keys to getting successful in a smaller market?
So I really felt like I wasn't qualified to answer this because we're not necessarily in a rural, I can't even say that word, area, but I would say that there is a sign company that has been out in rural Brunswick County my whole life. I mean, I grew up here, so clearly that guy is doing something right for some longevity. He has a great reputation. I agree 100% with Hamid on speaking to someone in your due diligence process that you're doing right now. I would source as many folks that are in that type of market and just see, what was their startup like? What are their goals? Like we had some really big, fat, scary goals for our pro forma, again, based out of need, us leaving a corporate salary. So, what are you looking to do? And is it feasible in the type of market that you're in? I will say, our area has, we have water on all the sides of us, but there's also no more land. So what is happening is people are tearing down and they're building up. And so people are moving here in crazy amounts. And so they're creating living spaces, and then the bottom is all retail. So that has been very helpful to us. And Brunswick County is like one of the fastest growing counties in the country for some crazy reason. Again, because I grew up here, I'm like, really? But there's a lot of opportunity that is coming further out into what has been a rural area, just because there's no more land in the city. So I don't know if that is something that, pertains to where you're at or not, but it could be coming. People are moving out that way.
Yeah, very good. All right. Well, for sake of time and the fact that we're almost 10 minutes past the hour, we're going to conclude the session. Jeff, Hamid, and Jamie, thank you so much for joining. Hamid, appreciate you sticking in there with your early technology challenges. Glad that your lights came back on and your phone didn't die, and appreciate all your humor. Jeff, you're just always a pleasure. So many years in the business, just a veteran for our community, and appreciate you being on. And Jamie, you're delightful and just doing great things. So thank you all 3 of you for your honesty, your transparency, and sharing your perspectives today. To our guest participants, we appreciate your interest in learning more about Signworld and look forward to those additional conversations to help you in this process to identify if this is the right next decision for you in your chapter in life. So with that, I hope everybody has a great rest of your Wednesday, and stay cool and dry wherever you're located, and have a great rest of your summer. So thanks for joining. Take care.